I think silver is the cheapest metal on earth. I'm on record for saying that a few times. I think it's almost ridiculous to be able to be buying silver sub $30 an ounce. Some days even sub $25 an ounce is a huge opportunity in our opinion. And so, we have, you find a few projects that have a very large silver discoveries. Imagine the value of those if silver goes to $50 an ounce. That's not too much of a stretch. If you look at the history of what you just said, which is the gold and silver ratio, that is at about 70 or so. I would say 75 or 74, depending on the day. And when you looked at that throughout history, taking out what we saw in March of 2020, which was I would say perhaps a different period. Those are times that are very unique in terms of the timing for you to be allocating capital towards silver. I think that if there was ever a time again to be allocating capital in silver, that time is today. And so we are very focused on that. And in regards to the supply side of silver is also very interesting because silver falls into not only the monetary metal aspect of it, of a trade, but also into this green revolution situation where it really fits into as a metal that may serve as supply to a lot of the developments in the electrification period that we may see in the following years, which falls into the fiscal agenda and so forth. And so we think that silver is a very interesting play and something that we're really long. We have a very large exposure in our portfolio today as well. The monthly price of gold, which is already above the levels again, after the sell-off that we saw recently, it's actually above the levels that we saw in the peak of 2011. And if we just apply the same idea, the miners are going to go back to retest the 2011 highs, that really implies a 60+% return from here. Obviously, we think that given the risk and the leverage to the gold and silver price, we think the miners are going to go much higher. And on top of it, the fundamental story is nowhere close to where it was back in 2011. It's significantly better. To what Kevin was talking about the gray rotation and this prioritization to profitability, well, if there is one profitable place to be invested in, that's the mining space in the precious metals and base metals. Basically, most of commodity companies are in that space of profitability. So we think that's a big part of it. I think the miners could potentially become the new growth stocks of the next 10 years or so. And so that's why we like to be taking up risk here and go into a more illiquid and perhaps more of a deep value opportunity where we think the liquidity is going to come in to where our investments are today. So there's certainly a need for exploration. There's certainly a need for developments of mines. And with gold and silver prices going higher, in our opinion, regardless if it is through real rates or further disorder in the monetary and fiscal side or further amounts of leverage in the system, we think that's going to be driving tangible assets higher. And at some point will drive also liquidity to the miners. So miners are our favorite industry right now to be long at this point. I would say the biggest risk to the market today, in our opinion, comes from the inflationary forces. I think there's really three pillars that are moving along here in a very significant way. It starts from this wealth transfer from the government to the people that are driving inflationary forces in a big way. The second one is what Kevin kind of touched on it, which was the wages and salaries growth, which is a secular shift, in our opinion, that would drive inflation too. The third one is the monetary debasement that we're seeing in the fiscal disorder, which is driving also the Federal Reserve to be buying those treasuries in order to drive or suppress interest rates over time. And even though we may see an exit from that strategy for the short term, ultimately, I think we're going to go back there again. And the fourth one has to do with you kind of touched, which is China. The deglobalization patterns we're seeing, which started, in our opinion, back in 2016, are really still going very strongly, in our opinion. And we think that's going to continue to be the fourth pillar of inflation, of adding to this pressure of consumer prices to rise. We think that China is a credit bubble. So if I would point out to an issue globally as far as a credit bubble outside of other developed economies, I would say the biggest one, in our opinion, that is a risk is China. We think China is a massive credit bubble, a banking. I think we may see a banking crisis coming out of China. And how do you play that? In our opinion, one of the ways is to be short the yuan. So we like to be not only long gold, but long gold relative to the most overvalued currencies in the world.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race. You're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Marco Stan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Marco Stan.